Today we are going to present webcast part 1, and it is about a parent's guide to understand childhood anxiety. Anxiety is one of the most common mental health concerns for children and adults and affects approximately 20% of children and adolescents. Understanding the type of anxiety is the first thing parents can do to help their children. It is very normal for children to experience anxiety in stressful situations. For example, many kids and teens feel scared or nervous on the first day of school. Some youth describe feeling butterflies in their stomach. The better way of understanding child's anxiety is to understand 8 ways a child's anxiety shows up as something else. Let's see how anxiety shows up in the form of anger. The perception of danger, stress, or opposition is enough to trigger the fight or flight response, leaving your child angry and without a way to communicate why. If the child is in the form of fight, that means the child will have an aggressive behavior or revolt against your decisions. And if the child is in the flight form, then the child will run away from the situation and will have a difficulty to confront the situation. If you feel your child is highly negative towards something or someone, that may be because he is feeling anxious about something. Let's take the example. The child may say, "I really don't like this school," but this may be because he is unable to make new friends or difficulty to follow instructions, and therefore he feels anxious all the time. And then in return he says that "I don't like the school," or "I don't like the teachers or my classmates." That is, that the people with anxiety tend to experience negative thoughts at much greater intensity than the positive ones. Anxious behavior can also be seen in the form of difficulty sleeping. In children, having difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep is one of the hallmark characteristics of anxiety. It may be due to the nightmares, or somebody has narrated horror story, or change in the adjustment of sleeping, shifting from dependent sleeping to independent sleeping. One of the most common anxious behavior is avoidance. Children who are trying to avoid a particular person, place, or task often end up experiencing more of whatever it is they are avoiding. For example, the child avoids going along with you to some family or friends gathering because it may be that someone always teases him, or he doesn't have anyone of his age group to talk to or play with. Anxious behavior can also be seen in the form of defiance. The child is unable to communicate what is really going on. It is easy to interpret the child's defiance as a lack of discipline, instead of an attempt to control a situation where they feel anxious and helpless. Let's take the example. The child always shows temper tantrums when you are shopping. This may be because he feels anxious around crowded places, or he feels tired and unable to communicate that he wants to go home and relax. Have you ever indulged in over-planning? If yes, then you must have understood that it was anxiety which was forcing you to plan way ahead of the event or did over-planning. Similarly, amongst children also, over-planning and defiance go hand in hand in their root cause, where anxiety can cause some children to try to take back control through defiant behavior, or it can cause others to over-plan for situations where planning is minimal or unnecessary. Chandeliering word may be new to you, but the anxious behavior which is seen here is very relevant. Chandeliering is when a seemingly calm person suddenly flies off the handle for no reason. They have pushed hurt and anxiety so deep for so long that a seemingly innocent comment or even suddenly sends them straight through the chandelier. That means we should always encourage two-way active communication so that the negativity doesn't pile up and one day it does not become a sudden outburst. Many a times the parents feel that their child is having lack of focus. They complain that they do not focus much on their studies or they do not pay attention to what they are saying. Children with anxiety are often so caught up in their own thoughts that they do not pay attention to what is going on around them. By now we all know that anxiety can be shown in any form. It can be shown in the form of anger, difficulty sleeping, defiance, chandeliering, lack of focus, avoidance, overplanning, and negativity. So as a parent, what can you do to help your child? Some of the useful tips to help an anxious child is: gently encourage your child to do things he or she is anxious about instead of avoiding it. For example, if your child feels anxious about long journeys, then you can make it a fun trip by playing some games, talking about his favorite topics, or taking small breaks in between to rest or see the view or click pictures. Then, you can also praise and support your child's effort for attempting to approach a feared situation. You can always positively reinforce his efforts by praising him, rewarding him, and very important, acknowledging his efforts, be it small or big step. Then, you can also try to help your child manage anxiety by engaging him or her in relaxation techniques, mindfulness, listening to music, or physical exercises. Also, give your child opportunities to observe you handling your own stressful or anxious difficulties in positive and healthy ways. When you show that you are unable to cope up with the stress and anxiety, the child may feel that it may be difficult for him also to tackle his own situation. You must teach your child resilience to cope with, adapt to, and overcome challenges. This brings to the end of the webcast part 1, and we'll be back soon with webcast 2 with some more essential information and topics to discuss.